What's going on, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching a very special Halloween episode of the Nocturnal Transmission. Sorry, there, been having a long day. Yes, it is the Halloween special. I mean, we got a little busy and we forgot to get costumes or coordinate. But yeah, we're fucking adults. What do you expect from us? Anyways,
I might eat candy later, but that's just.
What was it?
I said I might be eating candy later, but that's just me.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, and Robert's got a nice orange background for you, so here's that.
I'm on location.
Yes, he's on location. So. Anyways, yes, you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's the conversation you could be having during the day, but having at night. Yes, I know we're starting late, but I know we're starting later. But you know the story. It's all Robert's fault. So
as always.
It's always at the very least on this show, it's always Robert's fault.
Until I can find another scapegoat. So.
Yes, until I can find another skateboard or a scapegoat. God, man, my brain is fried tonight.
Have you been watching a bunch of the Beta O'Rourke stuff where he's skateboarding on stage? Is that why was it a Freudian slip?
Oh God. Yeah, isn't that funny? Because when I see that, I think of that meme of like Steve Buscemi, like with the backwards hat and the skateboard, and it's like hello, fellow kids.
Yeah.
I mean, am I crazy? Am I the only one that sees it? Am I the only one?
That's exactly what I saw too.
I mean, like, I don't know what's worse, like him, like trying to appeal to young people with the skateboard, or like the stupid ads that his followers are putting out, like that Grease inspired one.
My.
Gosh, shoot me in the brain. I have no idea. Like, I don't even know what like his like particular politics are. I know he's a Democrat. And I don't know, like, specifically what his politics are, but I could probably guess. And and if I lived in Texas, I would, I'd definitely be pulling the lever for Ted Cruz purely out of spite.
Yeah, oh man, it's just that guy is one of the biggest losers ever. It's just.
But I mean, then again, like. Who else are the Democrats going to put out there for 2020? Or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard that Hillary might run again.
Oh, because she didn't learn from last time.
Yeah, because she didn't get a severe enough ass whooping the last time. And I know, she didn't lose the popular vote. But luckily, our system doesn't rely on the popular
blown out
vote.
Of the wall. Yeah. Well, she'll try again, and she'll get blown out of the water again. That's.
Anyway, yeah. Let's get this conversation started. We kind of already did, but anyways, speaking of Hillary Clinton, did you see that clip of her, like doing that interview with like this Rachel Maddow clone, and she made that, she kind of, it's interesting because it made her like the most human, but it was so like if it was anybody else, and if it was particularly Trump, he'd be raked over the coals for it. Where where she made that kind of insinuation that all black people look alike.
Yeah, I saw that too. It's like, wow. I mean,
right?
If anybody. Any conservative said anything in the slightest like that, it would be national news.
No, exactly. Yeah, it'd be open season on a conservative who made like the insinuation that all black people look the same. But but because she says it, like it's totally glossed over, and it's not going to be a thing. No one's going to talk about it, at least in the mainstream media. I mean, we're talking about it, but it was funny because despite the offensiveness, potential offensiveness of it actually made her to be almost a likable person, almost.
Yeah. Oh boy, yeah, she's pretty terrible.
Yeah, and she looks like really bad. I mean, like she looks like really sick. Like her
Yeah,
posture was
she's
her posture was weird, and you could only almost like make out the outline of a back brace.
I mean she's pretty corpsey looking. That's for
Right, I know
sure.
she's like she's one pinky toe closer to Crypt Keeper status.
Yeah. And it's like I don't know if she she would even be able to make a run through the
I know,
presidency
like
again.
it'd be amazing if she like even made it if she even made it to 2020, like 2 more years. Like I'm expecting to hear that she's had like a massive stroke or something.
Well, it'd certainly make a lot more sense.
Yeah, or like the like probably like in 2019. Like I'm expecting to hear that she has a stroke.
Yep, wouldn't surprise me.
No, not even the slightest.
Oh, boy.
Anyways, yeah, that was a nice. That was a nice little starter to the night. But yeah. So, do you have any plans for tomorrow, Robert?
I mean, not really. I'm working till kind of late, and
Mm-hmm.
then I I don't really have any plans. Though my Al Bundy costume is coming in tomorrow. I'm gonna wear that during bowling Thursday.
Nice. No,
So
ma'am.
yeah, that'll be. Though I got my no ma'am shirt. I'm probably gonna shave though, because I
Right,
to at
because
least
Al Bundy doesn't have a beard.
he does not have a
He
beard.
does not have a beard. Wait, what was the acronym for No Ma'ams? Like National Organization
Of men
of
against
Men Against the.
Amazonian masterhood.
That's funny.
Oh man, yeah, and I just because I know that's gonna piss off so many people, and it's gonna be great.
I know, right? Oh man.
I was contemplating wearing the whole like Pokai uniform
Right.
with the shoulder pads
Uh-huh.
and his like talking about how I scored 4 touchdowns in a game.
Yeah.
But I was like, I couldn't. The shoulder pads wouldn't have come in on time. So I was like, I guess I'll just go with the no ma'am shirt then. Maybe next year I'll do the Pokai uniform.
Mm.
No pig.
I don't know. I don't know. Like maybe it's like because I'm older now. It's like I just have a new appreciation for Al Bundy, the character.
No, he's so hilarious.
Yeah, seriously. I don't know.
It's it's that show would never make the light of day today.
No, today it was like no, not even not in a like today, like not in a million years would that show be greenlit.
No way. But man, that's why but I'm thankful that show exists.
Yeah, seriously. Like I'm so glad it came out when it did.
But no, it's I'm so excited for the No Ma'am shirt. That's gonna be fun to wear.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, I haven't really been doing much for Halloween recently. Yeah, I've kind of thought about maybe doing a costume thing here or there, but I just don't have the same amount of time that I used to be able to do that kind of stuff. So, it's kind of, what's the point?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, if you don't have a girlfriend, then like, there's no real point. Because like, because the girl will be the one that wants to go and like, get dressed up or whatever,
Yeah.
and do the matching costumes or whatever. But well, your woman's not in town, and I don't have one, so
Yeah, that is a problem.
yeah. So I don't feel any onus to get a costume, whatever. Although, yeah, James did invite me to go out with him and his coworkers to West Hollywood.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, and yeah, like he told me that he was gonna go dressed up as Maverick from Top Gun, and and then what was it? I was just like, hey, if you told me, then I could have come like as Goose, and I would have come dressed as like a literal goose.
That would have been pretty funny.
Yeah, and then I could, and yeah, and I did look online. I actually went to like some physical like brick and mortar stores to look for like at least a duck mask, but couldn't find anything or like because I have such a fat head, like the duck mask that I did find was too small for me. And I could just imagine myself the entire night just like sweating balls, under
Oh,
it.
absolutely.
Yeah. But if I had some prep time, and I would have made my own mask, and I would have just like worn like all white, and then like on my on the white T-shirt I would have written "Talk to me."
There. Oh man, I remember we were talking about because I remember we were all talking about that whole costume idea, and as we're re-exploring the movie Top Gun, it's like, man, this movie is so homoerotic.
Oh man, it was full on gay porn. Like, what was the purpose of that volleyball scene?
There
What,
was
like, try and explain it to me. Try and explain it to me. The purpose of that volleyball game.
that is one of the scenes that I can't explain it. The whole the funniest part of that scene to me was let me check my watch so I can flex.
Yeah, exactly, dude. That was full on gay porn. That was full on gay. That was for the gay guy. That was for the gay guys in the audience.
Or the bite that the
Oh yeah, the really aggressive bite that
Oh my god,
that makes absolutely no sense. What well-adjusted like heterosexual guy does that?
Oh man, it's that movie though was responsible for a ton of people going into the Navy though.
True, that is true. And I know we're kind of like ragging on it, but I still love it.
It is a product of its time, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Because we look, the funny thing is, I think back then we looked like, oh man, these guys are like so macho. Look at them, like with all their muscles and how like manly they are. And so and then you go back like 20, well, God, almost 30-year hindsight. It's like, oh geez, this is pretty gay.
Exactly. Like, yeah, you just don't like realize how gay it is, because it's funny because like I know it's supposed to be like kind of like more like a tragic kind of Oscar contenders, but yeah, that movie with Denzel Washington, John Q.
Yeah.
With like like him like trying to get his son like a heart transplant or whatever.
Right.
But if you know, it was like but if you look at the kid and like you saw his room, it was like filled with posters of like bodybuilders, and he was like, and the son like wanted to become a bodybuilder. I was like, dude, that kid was gay.
I didn't remember that at all.
Yeah, well, I mean, I only bring it up now because like I recently saw it on TV, like or like on one of like
Oh, I see. Yeah.
on one of the movie packages that I get through cable. But it was on TV, and I was watching it again. And I was like, yeah, I remember John Q. Raised a lot of good questions about healthcare and like whatever. But then like they were talking about their son. It's like, oh, my son wants to be a bodybuilder. What kid wants to be a bodybuilder? And then like you see the kid in his room, and it's like plastered with like these like greased up muscle men. And I'm just like,
That's a.
wait a second.
Yeah, probably gay.
Yeah, probably gay.
But hey, oh man, I might have to go back and watch that now. I did not remember that scene at all.
Yeah, no, it's just like subtle things, because like the kid, because the kid says he wants to be a bodybuilder, and then his room is filled with posters of like oiled up guys, bodybuilders and like their speedos or whatever, and it's just like, wait a second, like, is this kid gay?
Oh man, that's funny. That's really funny.
Yeah, it's just funny, like going back and like just like kind of taking the gay lens to like all the movies that we grew up with.
Yep. It's like, oh man.
Yes. All right. So, anyways, where do you want to start first?
Well, I think we should maybe share some of our thoughts on the tragedy that happened in Pittsburgh this past week. And
Okay.
what I also think is, and we've talked about this, but we are also going to be following the example of a channel that that we admire. We're not going to be talking about the perpetrator.
Well, we're not going to name the perpetrator, so like, we'll either refer to him as the shithead or the scumbag or any other such descriptive label.
Yeah, because we have to. I mean, obviously, we're not necessarily as far-reaching as other podcasts or mainstream media sources, but I think it's a good thing not to give these jackasses the publicity that they're dying for.
Although I don't think he died. I think he was taken into custody. So.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I understand. I understand your point. So why don't you?
Those assholes.
Exactly. Why don't you start us off?
Yeah. So from what I gathered as to what happened is there was I think it was a what's called a brie, which is kind of the where they circumcise a young child, a young boy, which is one of those Jewish traditions, and the guy who was found to be he had been shouting a bunch of anti-Semitic claims and all the kind of the big nasty stuff came in and just started opening up fire, and unfortunately there wasn't any safeguards in place, and he took out a bunch of older Jewish congregants, and yeah, he was I heard he was noted to have said like death to all Jews and all all that crazy stuff, and just really really awful that happened, and And yeah, I'm not, real excited about it. Yeah, maybe I'm not a Jew per se, but my best friend, one of my best friends in the entire world is, and it's just the type of
Or
just
you'd be a Jew for the right money.
maybe, but the just kind of the horrendous way that just throughout history, how Jews have been treated is just, it's awful.
Right.
And and they kind of, a lot of times it gets conflated like they're just like any other minority group, but it's not, because the world bashes on the Jews, and we've and the other sick thing that I thought was how the news treated it. It's like, oh well, this is all Donald Trump's fault. It's like, first of all, no, and two is like, how did you even come to that conclusion? Like, this has been the most pro-Jew, pro-Israel president I've ever seen.
I mean, yeah, he actually fulfilled the promise of his predecessors and moved the U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, the historic capital of Israel. And so, the cries from the biased media saying, "Oh, this is Trump's fault," and it's his rhetoric, which is basically saying his words cause violence, is totally disingenuous, and I do not accept that narrative at all.
Well, the other thing that is like they were saying is how like all the Jews in Philadelphia are telling him to telling Trump to stay away and stay home. We don't want you. All this stuff then that's a lie, because the rabbi from that very synagogue that was shut up said, if he wants to come here, we will welcome him in open arms. Like, please come.
Yeah, I remember just before, hours before the stream, I caught a little bit of, what is that, the ABC Nightly News or whatever, and they're showing, they're showing video of, President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump, going to, and paying their respects, and then they pivot to footage of neighbors and just like shouting down the president, and then they're just saying like, "Oh, you're not welcome here. Get out of here. This is your fault. How dare you come? This is our neighborhood. You don't belong here." And it's like, and they say that Trump is like somehow detracting from the tragedy or whatever. But I dare say that they're the ones who are detracting from this tragedy, and who are taking the attention away from it, and making it about them and not the victims. And I think that's the real tragedy here, is that these so-called tolerant people, cannot restrain their vitriol for a couple of hours while the president is here to pay his respects to the victims. They can't even show that level of maturity to restrain themselves and just be a human being.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like it's a way for them to just step over the corpses of all those victims, and just
it's just like they're like standing on they're standing on the victims and saying like how dare you disrespect them, and like not realizing they're doing the exact thing that they claim Trump is doing.
Right.
I really don't know how they don't see that.
It's just the whole thing is just really terrible, and I think this is our country has, while there is a level of anti-Semitism. Like, I mean, everywhere in the world, there's some semblance of that. But this country has been, such a haven for Jews that it's not that like they're constantly in danger, but man, I just it's kind of sad that they may need to do more to protect themselves and have some semblance of security to hopefully prevent a tragedy like this from breaking out again.
Yeah, I mean, like they didn't have an armed guard, and then like I guess like the easy retort is like, well, why should they have an armed guard there? It's like, or things like things like this never happen because I mean, as, even though we live in America and we live in a mostly tolerant society, there's still like those crazy fucks who who will go who will do horrendous things. And isn't it great that we live in a country where we can defend ourselves? That's one of the that's one of the freedoms that is enshrined in our founding document, saying that the government will not impede, or at least it shouldn't impede on the individual or the citizen's right to defend themselves. Especially if you belong to a people's group who have been historically targeted for discrimination.
Yeah, I mean it's really just, I don't know. I'm very sad by a lot of the rhetoric that is being shared by the news, because they're trying to make this an anti-Trump thing. They're trying to make it anything else to bend to something to fit their narrative, and instead of like, hey, you know what, maybe let's go ahead and mourn and remember those that are now gone. But maybe we can do that for a second before we start spitting on their corpses as we yell at each other over something that's like they're not even telling the truth about. It's just it's really disgusting. And I felt like the words that Trump shared after and speaking of the tragedy were I really thought he gave a great speech, and I mean the guy cares about these people. He's broken up about it, I think, as much as anybody that isn't directly involved with, as far as having their family members killed, and one of them I heard was also like a Holocaust survivor. So man, it's like,
yeah. But I mean, his son-in-law is Jewish, and his daughter converted to Judaism. So I mean, it could have been his kids. It could have easily been his kids.
It could easily. And so it's just it's tough. And I like I said, this has been finally we have a president that has the backbone to stand up for the Jews and stop letting them get blasted in the UN, and actually follows through on a promise that presidents have been making for 25, almost 30 years.
Right. Never did. At the very least, for as long as we've been alive.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's how long the promises have gone for the U.S. to recognize Israel as the capital Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, and move the embassy there. For as long as we've been alive, that's how long the U.S. presidents have been promising to move the U.S. embassy. And then finally we get a president who follows through on that promise, And then people are still wanting to rake them over the coals for it, saying how like it's going to provoke our enemies or whatever. That's like
so what?
So what? Nothing's gonna happen. Nothing has happened, and who wants to piss off the country with like the biggest military and the biggest and the most advanced military in the history of the world?
It's like, come at us, Palestine.
Yeah, it's like, come at me, bro. Yeah, come at me, Palestine.
The nation that's not really a nation because it's not a thing.
Right. Yeah.
But
man, that's because
and Israelis are nicer to the Palestinians than the Palestinians are to their own people. So yeah.
Right. Oh, that's funny because that's I wanted to ask Dan that about the whole Palestinian thing and because when we had him that I like to hear his perspective.
Yeah,
do the Palestinians have a case, and if so, what I mean, because Israel has tried 3 times to offer the 2-state solution, and each time the Palestinians have turned it down.
They have constantly, because they had much more land than they do now, but because they're like
because Israel made concessions.
They've bent over backwards to come up to try to arrive at a peaceful solution, and like, you want the Gaza Strip? Okay, here you go. They gave up a ton of land to the I think it was the Egyptians, right. And they continue to get spit on, slapped, missiles fired at them, and they get the UN is pretty much everyone is anti-Israel except for us, which to me personally, maybe this is speculation, is why we've been a country for so damn long, that we have some sort of providence because we've stood up for these people.
Mm-hmm. I mean, to think about it, Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East.
The only one.
It's the only one. And it's surrounded by countries that have historically wanted it to be wiped off the map.
Yep.
Like, historically. I'm like talking about even before the founding of the United States.
Yeah. But we'll definitely next time we'll have Dan on. We may because we ran out of time because man, there's so many different fun topics to talk about when it comes to that. But yeah, I would like to hear his thoughts on all that.
Mm-hmm.
What's it? But yeah, no, just horrible tragedy. I urge people to let's not make this such a a partisan issue. It's there's unfortunately a lot of terrible people that hate Jews for no apparent reason. Hell, there's Christians that hate Jews for no reason. And it's like, well,
they killed our Lord, Robert. They killed our Lord.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like well, our Lord was Jewish, so what do you do with that?
You completely ignore it.
Well, there's people that they're so anti-Jew that in the Christian community they essentially like rip the Bible in half and tear out the Old Testament and they throw it away. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Wow.
Like without the Old Testament, none of this other stuff makes a damn like a sense.
Yeah. It doesn't. Because like the whole because I mean
the gospel
like
makes
Jesus, because Jesus, like the Old Testament is the prelude to Jesus.
Yeah.
It sets up the entire ground. It sets up the entire foundation and backstory for Jesus.
Yeah. It's just awful.
Yeah.
But but hey, you could maybe they do control all of the world's money and Hollywood and all that crazy stuff.
Maybe, but there's been some good Jews. There's been some good Jews.
Oh, absolutely.
Milton Friedman, Leonard Nimoy, the Beastie Boys.
That's right. Man, I miss the Beastie Boys.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I was so devastated when who's that guy? I forget. Damn it! Why am I blanking on the name? But he died of cancer. He was in the Beastie Boys.
Yeah, it was really sad.
Yeah, I remember like when I heard that, I was just like, I literally felt sadness. I was just like, because I grew up, I more or less grew up on the Beastie Boys. Growing up.
Absolutely.
Even like from like their late '80s stuff to like their '90s stuff, which like I didn't really appreciate it. I was exposed to it because of my sister, but I essentially grew up with them, and then I find and then when I heard like he got one of the members, was it Mike D?
I think it was Mike D. I could be wrong.
Yeah. Well, yeah. He passed away because of cancer. And I remember, like feeling sadness.
Well, it's because they were working on a new album at that time too, and they ended up having to cancel.
I mean, yeah, they had actually come out with like some new stuff, and I think they were in the process of they dropped an album, and they're gonna drop another one, and then I think that's when he passed. Before the completion of the next album.
Right, and just so sad.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, transitioning into some other, crazy news topics. We have a giant caravan of people that are making their way to the U.S. border.
Yes, and it's not as packed with women and children as we're led to believe. I mean, I've seen the images of the caravan, and it's mostly men. It's mostly like military age, like men.
Pretty much.
And it's like, and the idea that this caravan is coming to for these people to claim asylum or whatever. Like, I'm just not buying it.
Yeah, I wouldn't go like too crazy on. There's a lot of people that go a little bit crazy on the conspiracy theories, but yeah, I don't buy the whole we're just freedom, people seeking for freedom and liberty and all this other stuff. It's like I don't buy it.
Yeah, I mean, if they're really trying to get to the United States because they're so badly treated by their home government, whatever, then why the hell they're flying their home country's flag and not not America's flag?
Yeah, at least have some sort of semblance that you.
We're coming to America for opportunities, but we're gonna fly the Honduran flag.
It's like, hey, you can be proud of Honduras, but maybe
Yeah, but I mean, how great is it really if you're picking up picking up your lives and trying to come to America? How great is it really? Just between us, you can level with me. How great is Honduras?
Yeah, it's not better than here.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, if because the left is constantly saying how awful America is, how cops are killing black and brown people, and where America's like so racist and and sexist and patriarchal and all that they make it out to be like some sort of hellscape. Why is this caravan coming then?
Yeah.
It's just like, if America is as bad as you say, why do people keep coming in droves to this country?
Yeah, and the thing that we also have to make note of is that this isn't like we're not like anti-immigrant, obviously. Like, that's stupid. That's
No, of course not. Come, but come the right way. Get in line.
There's so many people that did everything they liked what America has to offer. They worked hard. They did things the right way. They didn't cheat the system. And if anything, I think that people who've come to this country legally, I would be so furious with what these people are trying to do, because it's like you can't just let these bastards in just because they have a sad tale to tell. It's, come on.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, because I always give this analogy. Say you're at In-N-Out, and then there's a line, and you get in that line, but then all of a sudden someone comes in, and they jump you in the line. Is that fair? So I don't think so. And then again, let's use that same analogy. You go to In-N-Out, you're in line, and then you get to the front of the line, and then someone comes in and just and goes in front of you again. That's not right. And then again, like, you go to In-N-Out, you wait in line, you get to the counter, you order your food, and then someone comes in and then comes and takes your food and walks away.
Yeah, that's
essentially what's happening when people like try to come and do like these stunts and and say that they want asylum or whatever, they want to be considered refugees. And it's just like, well, what about the person who's been waiting for like 5 years, and filled out all the paperwork and paid all the fine, all the fees and whatever, and took the test and did the interview.
Yeah.
It's not fair to them. Like a lot of the left they say that they want equality, they say they want balance, they say they want justice, but they don't want to be fair.
Yeah.
We could have all those things, but we still have to be fair. And the person who took the time to fill out all the paperwork, pay all the fees, and do everything the right way, they deserve the spot in this country before sad little Paco and his family, who walked an absurd amount, an absurd distance, because like the caravan supposedly is left like just like a week and a half ago, but then they're gonna make it all the way up here in time for election day.
Yeah, not
yeah, like, and that's like, it's like from Honduras to like the closest point, border access point on the border is still like a good like over 1,000 miles away.
That is quite a trek.
That
took Western settlers about what, like 6 months to like a year to do in their
and they're covered wagons and shit.
And you usually had a whole new family by the time you arrived.
Right, I know, like, right, yeah, their kids had kids.
Yeah. It just, oh my gosh, it just seems a little too ridiculous.
Yeah.
Something a little bit more is going on kind of beneath it all.
Yeah, it's
You
not
know, it's not
natural. It's
just
not natural. Like if you like heard about if you heard about this, I mean, we've heard about a couple of different caravans now, but I mean, this latest one is from Honduras. The other one I think was from
right.
Guatemala.
Yeah,
Yeah, but if like we, if we were to believe that this is completely spontaneous happening, then we would have heard about this caravan like a few months ago, not just not just a week and a half ago.
right.
We would have heard stories about a caravan making it, slowly but surely making its way up toward, through Mexico. And not again, why is Mexico allowing this, their borders to be transgressed? You know, um, I don't know. Maybe they're thinking that, well, as long as they're not planning on, living here, then yeah, we'll allow, a few thousand migrants to, you know, run across
Yeah,
our backyard just to get into America.
yeah. Well, I think we made the right choice, and it's like, okay, well, all the aid that we've been sending you guys, that's
Oh
gone.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. Trump put him on blast. Hey, Honduras, get your shit together, or we're gonna pull your yearly aid that we give you.
Yeah, and it's the other thing too
So
is
yeah,
well,
if
now
it's
we're
not
also
enough, why do we? And your people are coming up to us, then why are we paying you aid?
and now we are going to be sending troops to the border as well to kind of safeguard against this group.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm kind of glad that we're finally doing something to give us some sort of border control, because it's like I said, it's a little it's gone way out of control, and we're not rich uncle money bags for the everybody. It's like, don't get me wrong, I love that our country is founded on people who decided to drop everything, leave their home, and chase an idea. The idea of liberty and freedom of what we stand for, because we're not a nation of people. It's a nation that has decided to buy into an idea, and we all work towards that idea together. Uh, um, that's not no country in the history of the world has done that, and
Right. Because yeah,
so
there's all countries in the history of planet Earth have always been race based. You know, but America is unique in that it's the first country to be based on principles, values, as opposed to blood or ethnicity.
right, and that's what people were like, oh cool, let's try this, and that's how like we're able to build the foundations of this. And what's happened, and everyone's oh, it's so sad, and all, and they want to cry these fake crocodile tears that they, because they don't actually care about these people, for one.
Mm-hmm.
um but then the fact is, like, but that's not what this group is doing. Yeah, they might not have guns or anything like that, but they are working to exploit what, because they think of us as a joke, and it's like, oh well, America has all this stuff, and maybe not all of us will make it, but some of us will, and we'll just reap all these benefits that we don't deserve, and we'll just cut everybody in line. And yeah, and I for one am tired of it. And
Agreed.
the other disgusting thing about this is, there's a lot of human trafficking that's going on through these things. A lot of disgusting animals that are preying on children and women and children,
Mm-hmm.
and essentially, I mean, they're essentially held hostage, and they're going to be sold into some sort of like sex slavery or whatever else. And by us finally you know protecting our borders, we're starting to make some sort of dent in just that disgusting industry that is from down in South and Central America.
Mm-hmm.
But no one talks about that because they look at a sad tale and buy some magic beans, and they think, oh well, we care, and and they try to misuse Bible quotes and all this other stuff to make us feel terrible, and it's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah. Like they take the one like about the immigrant, but it's like that's not really the right wording for it, because I'm like, at least in some of the translations I've seen, it's the sojourn, and if you look up the definition of the word sojourn, it means someone who is in a different country that's not his own for a short time.
Yeah.
Not someone that relocates. That's different from an immigrant.
Right.
And if words mean, if words are important, they're important to me because, I like words. I try to use as precise language as I possibly can, to express myself and to express myself accurately. And the idea that they're gonna change that word, the meaning of that word, or even change the word entirely, like sojourn. Which meant just someone who is temporarily in temporarily in a country, to immigrant, which means someone who migrates from one country to another.
Yeah. And it's
again,
it's
and again, this weaponized empathy or compassion. It's just I'm just so tired of it. Because they're constantly saying oh, you don't care, you don't you don't care, you're an evil person. It's like, no, but I mean, there's millions of people on the street in this living on the street in this country. There are millions, and then from those millions there's thousands upon thousands of people who are addicted to drugs. And then and then within that group, there's there's people with real psychiatric disorders and things like that. So why are we not taking care of them? Looking inward, and instead we're looking outward and saying that we have to take care of all these poor, unfortunate individual people. Like when we have when we have unfortunate people in our country already who are U.S. citizens.
Yeah, and then when
where's your compassion for them? Where's your empathy for them?
Right. Well, I mean, the government kind of stands in the way of being able to give us any tools to to use to help get these people the help that they need.
Yeah, I mean, in LA alone, they shut down all the government-run facilities, like the mental institutions and things like that. And that's why there's such a big there's been such a big surge in the homeless population, within the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And we all see it. We see the encampments, we see the tents, we see the shit on the streets.
Yeah.
Where's your compassion for them? Where's your empathy for them? Where is your rallying cry to help these people?
Yeah, it's nowhere to be found because the thing is, they don't care about the people that are coming up from wherever the hell they're coming from, whether it be Honduras or Guatemala or wherever these
Central America or whatever.
Yeah, they don't care about those people. All they care about is oh, well, we can turn these into Democrat votes. They don't care about the homeless situation, even though they claim to have all this compassion and empathy that they don't have, because they continually throw out policies and stuff that stand in the way of people who act in a charitable way to be able to get them the help that they need. And they cry all these crocodile tears when they don't give a damn. They don't.
No, they don't. And it's really maddening, and I don't mean like crazy, but like really just like enraging that they keep like saying like, oh, you guys, you have no sympathy, you have no compassion. It's like I have tons of that crap. All right, but I
Yeah,
have it for people who rightfully deserve it. People who are citizens of this country and their government, who supposedly was supposed to take care of them, who said like, oh, we're the compassionate ones. He's like, we'll take care of you, but
yeah,
they kick them to the curb, and then and in turn they're embracing this entirely new group of people, until they've uh, fulfilled their purpose, which is to keep them in power. And that is what's gross. That is what's evil. That is what is maddening to me.
yeah. Um, just yeah, really and they change the definitions of words. They try to change they try to use fancy language and wording of how they share things to make things sound fluffy and nice, and it's just like it's none of that's real.
No, it's not. Yeah, everything the left offers is hollow because it doesn't build up. It's it's a veneer. It looks nice. It looks nice, but underneath it's rotten and not fit for purpose.
Yeah. um so yeah, I have that's all I need to say about that. I'm glad we're actually finally, doing something to, you know,
I
because
mean,
we're a country. Countries have borders, and I'm glad we're finally actually
yeah,
doing a damn thing about to protect those borders.
yeah. I mean, the three criteria of country are common language, culture, and borders.
Yep.
Those are the three criteria for a country, and I mean, we have two of those sort of, and thanks to Trump, I think we're regaining the third, which is borders.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's get away from this depressing talk, and let's get. Oh wait, actually, I wanted to quickly address this one thing. Did you hear about them getting rid of a poo?
Oh God. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny because like you think because like they did address it, like The Simpsons, they actually did address it like a while ago with an episode talking about like, oh, we can't like let our present determine our past, and because just because a character is problematic or now doesn't mean that we have to get rid of them. It's kind of talking, and they were kind of like it was a really veiled uh, statement addressing like the whole thing about a poo. And I thought that they were gonna have balls and they were gonna stand by a poo, but recent news came out that they're slowly gonna write him out of the store, out of the Simpsons.
Yeah. Well, if they're gonna do that, then they had all the characters need to be you know gotten rid of, because every character in that show is a stereotype of something.
Yeah, I mean Bumblebee Man, Krusty is even a stereotype of like
Yeah.
the atheistic Jew.
Yeah, the atheistic Jew actor, or
Yeah,
television star.
yeah, television star. What else? I mean, yeah, just
You
like
have
just
Groundskeeper Willie. You
Groundspeople
have
Willie. You have
Professor Frink.
yeah,
The sea
Doctor Hibbert.
captain. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
It.
funny because it's like, are you telling like because like the time that it came out, like are you telling me that there are no Indian store convenience store owners? Are you saying that that's like completely that since the Simpsons completely made that up? I don't think so. It was something in real life. You know, we all, you know, people are not stupid. We all see it. You know, when I was growing up, like the 7-Eleven near my house, yeah, it was run by an Indian guy.
Yeah,
or you know, or someone from, you know, somewhere within the region. You know, I don't want to be insensitive and say that they were Indian and they're from Pakistan or whatever. But you know, let's just say that they're someone from that region.
Right.
So it's not like, you know, Simpsons was like making up crap, you know, pulling things out of their butt. You know, they're making comments on, you know, the society at large, and that's it.
Yeah, that's all. That's all it's been about. Is just, you know, it's a social commentary. It kind of pokes fun at pretty much everything, and yeah, and it just well, this is going to be the, if not a quick, the slow death of The Simpsons.
I don't know. I don't know. After this, I predict huge ratings drop for The Simpsons.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because, man, I love The Simpsons. It's my favorite show. I quote it all the time. I watch it all the time, and now I'm, you know, they're just trying to destroy something that I love.
Yeah. It's funny because I haven't sat down and watched a Simpsons episode in a really long time. I just kind of like, you know, more or less kind of float towards like the older episodes, you know, back when they were still free, and but now that they've bent the knee, it's just like I don't want nothing to do with Simpsons. At least the newest season of Simpsons. You know, I just want nothing to do with it.
Yeah. It's a shame.
It is a shame. Anyway, well, speaking of commentary, let us get into our movie review for this week, which is our conclusion to our Hitchcock month, with his, arguably his magnum opus. And that is.
I was just gonna say that. or as our friend Dancing Jason would say, his Mr. Holland's opus.
It's funny. I love that movie.
It's a great
I know it's like really hokey and just like I know it was like purely Oscar bait, but I really love that movie.
Yeah.
Anyways, yes, the magnum opus of Alfred Hitchcock, and that would be the movie Psycho.
Yeah, this is pinnacle Hitchcock right here. This is one of the his absolute greats.
Yeah, this is like his Sistine Chapel, his Mona Lisa, his, you know, David, his, you know, Botticelli's, you know, Venus on a half shell. You know, it's like what you think about when someone says Hitchcock, you automatically associate it with Psycho.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few, like, Psycho. I think The Birds might be another one that gets thrown there. Yeah, maybe Rear Window. Rear Window's I still think one of his greats too. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, watching the film, it's really good. And I actually watched a documentary on the making of Psycho, which was also just, you know, kind of blew my mind. There was a lot of interesting facts that I found out about the movie that just made me like it even more.
Right. Well, for those of you unaware, Psycho is about the story of a woman, Marion Crane, who works for like some sort of like developer, or
it's like a real estate firm or a developer of some sort.
Yeah. And well, like one of their clients, you know, this big, like, you know, rich, like Texas kind of guy, comes and like drops like $40,000, which back then would have been probably like $2 million in today's money. And anyways, and the character Marion Crane, she is seeing this. She is dating this guy who is in the midst of a divorce, or who is divorced, and who still has to make alimony payments to his ex-wife, and he wants to be done with that and marry Marion, and so on and so forth. And so when this opportunity for when this money came across Marion's desk, it was too much to pass up, and she takes it and it goes on the lam, um, and she starts to be kind of uh, followed by local by local police, and and then one rainy night she happens upon the Bates Motel, where she meets the eponymous protagonist of the movie, Norman Bates, and she is subsequently murdered by his mother. And and going forward, of course, her boss, when she doesn't come in for work, he starts to make phone calls, and he starts, calls her, like, Marion's sister, and and all this other stuff. And then, was it the sister or the boss that hires the private investigator?
I think it was that Texan or whatever.
Right, yeah, the rich guy.
Right.
And the guy who lost all his money hires a private investigator, and the private investigator kind of tracks Marion's last known location, which is the Bates Motel. And then that private investigator is subsequently killed by Norman Bates' mother. And it finally comes to a head when the boyfriend of Marion Crane and the sister go to the hotel to try and find out what happened. And it turns out that it wasn't Norman Bates' mother, but it was in fact Norman Bates, who had developed a split personality, and was being himself and his mother. And he was the one that killed Marion Crane and the investigator, and as it turns out, at least a couple of other missing girls.
And we have no idea, because it's kind of the way it ends. It's like, oh well, they're starting to clear that lake, or that mud, that swamp,
like that bog or something. Yeah, because who knows how many girls are in that bog or whatever. And so and then it ends with kind of like a analysis from the psychologist, who was saying oh, Norman killed the girl, but he didn't kill the girl. And then he goes on to elaborate that Norman has a split personality, and he created he murdered his mother because his mother was supposedly gonna abandon him for this guy that she was seeing, and he couldn't have that because he was so codependent on her. But in his rage, by killing her, he loses her, and so he kind of he creates this split persona of his mother in his mind, and then the two are distinct personalities, and one takes the mother takes over, and Norman is none the wiser of what happens, and it ends with Norman kind of talking to himself in the voice of his mother, saying oh, you're the crazy one, and it doesn't make me happy that I have to rat you out. And
it's the great thing about this film, I think, is because it is based off of loosely based off of a book of this by the same title. And when Hitchcock was making this film, he's like, well, no one's just gonna come to there's no story if we're just talking about Norman Bates initially,
right?
Because Norman Bates is the main character of the story, but it's like you just can't start out with him. That was the trouble he was having. And that's why he ended up the person that he tagged to or hired to write this is, he came up with the idea. It was like, well, why don't we start with, Marion as like we start off with her, and
right.
we see her.
And I think that was a genius move. I think that was a genius move.
Oh, it was real. It was absolutely brilliant, and it you see her struggle. You see kind of her. And it ends she feels trapped in her situation, and she kind of has that mental break. She'd been a trusted employee, and then all of a sudden she ends up, the switch and you see the switch, and she starts off in like the white lingerie,
right? Yeah,
and
white
then
undergarments.
She makes that break, and she steals the money. And as she's getting ready to go on the lam, she changes into the black. You see her in the black lingerie, which is kind of a she'd made that.
Yeah, it's a visual cue letting them know, she's like her nature has changed.
And when she meets Norman Bates, she meets a guy who is unfortunately even more in a tougher situation than her. That's even more trapped, and she starts to kind of like, oh man, I really made a mistake, and she starts to tally like what she she had taken.
Yeah, and Norman even kind of like alludes to that fact when he's like describing like, oh, I'm here, taking care of my mother. She's not well, and not physically, but like mentally. And it's like, oh, well, you can't, I can't leave her. That'd be just cruel or whatever. And then, he says like, I think one of the, like I think the thing that he says that really, sticks with her. Was that? Oh, I think we're all stuck in a
trap of our own making.
Yeah, trap of our own making. I think that was the line that made her like, oh, I can't do this. I can't be this person, that steals or whatever. And that's when she decides that she's gonna go back.
And her meeting with Norman also triggers him into switching into his mother's persona, because whatever semblance that was Norman Bates is attracted to Marion, and it triggers him into going into his split personality and killing her. And so, I think, and that's where like you get the true story, and it's like, but the way that they cut into that was absolutely brilliant. And then you slowly get to know Norman Bates, and you kind of almost feel sorry for him because all this time we think it's his mother that's controlling him, and it's like, oh man, like I have to be here. I have to help mother deal with this issue, and he's reluctantly like cleaning up the murders and whatnot, and he's trying to make up all these lies, and he's getting caught up in these lies, and he's kind of a tragic figure in a way. We kind of feel sorry for him,
right?
And it's like, but then what it does towards the end of the film is it's coming to a close through all the private investigator, and then like Sam and Marion's boyfriend Sam and her sister, they're towards the end you're kind of drawn right back into Marion's story, because it's like, well, where the hell did she go? We kind of forget about her in a way,
right?
She comes in the background, and she's brought right back into the forefront at the end. And we see what really did happen to her, like what the issue was, and it was a really brilliant way to handle the film. It made it really good, And the funny thing is because the big draw acting wise was the lady who played Marion, which is Janet Leigh.
Mm-hmm.
And so the thing is, like, they were worried that if someone came to the movie late, that it's like they're like, oh, what happened to Janet Leigh? She's not in the movie. Well, why am I here?
Right.
Well, because she dies so early on in the film.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, yeah, I think it was smart that they didn't like kill her off until like at least like what was it like? Like kind of like the rule, like the movie doesn't really start for like the first 30 until the first 30 minutes.
Right. Well, so what Hitchcock did to kind of counteract that issue is like he created where it's like if you can't, this is a movie you can't come late to. If you come late, then we're not letting you in. You have to wait to the next showing.
Mm-hmm.
And he even did that to the critics. He wouldn't let the critics come in late, and people tried their damnedest to come late, and it's like, nope, it's not gonna happen. And because if that happened, the movie is ruined for you. And especially if the critics were coming into the movie and doing all that stuff, it's like it would have ruined it. Like they would have they had, because there was no like pre-screenings or any of that. They had the critics had to wait until the movie was actually out, so that the movie would not get ruined. Because that was the whole point. He was building a drama that you needed to see and experience in a certain way for it to be effective. And damned if it isn't. It's so good.
Agreed. Yeah, it's interesting. It's really fascinating because to think that he had that kind of influence to where he was able to get the critics to do as he wanted and see his work as he intended.
Yeah, and you also there's one other like really cool thing that they did where there's throughout the movie, or there is a kind of a theme of the child connected to the mother. And every character kind of has some sort of connection in that way, where you have the fellow Marion's coworker, the other young girl, which is actually Hitchcock's daughter.
Right. Yeah.
She has something that goes on with her mother. Obviously, Norman has his issues with his mother, and I think Marion has like her. It was at the beginning talking with Sam is like talking about her all that stuff with like her family, and so there's always like those like little like nuggets that are kind of strewn about in the film to kind of, so all the characters in some way are connected in their familial ties.
Yeah, well, yeah, like they all have like kind of varying degrees of issues with like their mothers.
Yeah.
And then I think culminating like the biggest issue, which would be Norman Bates.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because once the secret sauce, when you watch the movie and like the dialogue, that Norman says, it's very revealing. He's talking about like, oh, well, I have to take care of her. It's like, oh,
she's not well.
Yeah, she's not well, or like like, oh, like if it gets too hot, then mother wouldn't last or whatever. Like just like it's kind of like this telling dialogue that kind of hints at like that you just kind of think like, oh, she's an old woman, she's infirm, so she's like she's sensitive to like temperature change or whatever. But then it's really describing the fragility of a taxidermied body.
Yeah, I mean it's yeah. And it's like, man, that reveal at the end is like, god damn, that's
Yeah, precisely. And and then you kind of like, and then it also kind of like makes you wonder because there's of course like there's the iconic scene of Norman Bates dressed as his mother, stabbing Janet Leigh's character, but then like there's also and then like the scene where she goes and kills the private investigator, and then like so you have these shots where you see her active and like she doesn't seem that infirmed, and but then like when mother and Norman are having that conversation about hiding her in the fruit cellar, and then like her like and Norman having to carry her, then it's just like, well, why does she need to be carried? Because like if she like full on like was stabbing people, why would she need to be carried? And then it just kind of I mean it's like one of those things where you just kind of like you kind of don't think about it, but it's like the first like little wrinkle that makes you go like, well, why does he need to carry her? Why doesn't he just like walk her down into like the cellar or whatever? But then also like why does she have like what like you're just gonna lock her in like the fruit cellar and like
yeah,
and not give her like access to the bathroom or whatever?
yeah, it's you start to like there's all these like little puzzle pieces that you don't really think about until the puzzle is revealed, and then it's
Right,
like,
yeah.
oh crap, there was all these little nuggets that I've been given this whole movie, and now it's like I'm finally seeing it come together.
Yeah, right. I mean, it even began like when Norman and Marion first went to the parlor, and you see like all the taxidermied birds,
Right.
and then like and he's like saying like, oh, I like taxidermy, and like Marion says like, well, every man needs a hobby, it's like, oh, well, so this guy likes the taxidermy things, and I wonder what else that it doesn't really occur to you, but then at the end. Ooh, excuse me, with the reveal, it's like, oh, okay, he's taxidermied other stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, again, again, this is like, this is Hitchcock's magnum opus. I think this, I would say that this is probably my favorite Hitchcock movie now.
Yeah, as of right now, yeah, it's my favorite at the moment.
Yeah, and then does he use the same soundtrack? Because because the soundtrack that kind of suspenseful music that he used, it sounded like it was in North by Northwest.
I'm pretty sure he had. And see, I don't. As far as the soundtrack goes, I don't really know. He may have used kind of maybe the same guy, but I don't know if it's like a variation off of like stuff that he normally does or not.
It's funny because then I was kind of concocting the Hitchcock shared universe. So North by Northwest and The Man Who Knew Too Much and Psycho and what was the other one that we watched? Yeah, all those movies like are within the same universe.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's just like so it was like, and it's funny because then there could be like a redeeming kind of thing for Norman Bates where he goes into the birds universe and he kills all the birds and then taxidermies them.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
He'd be the hero.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be Norman Bates' redemption story. They let it like the world is taken over by birds, and it's like he's the only one that can kill them, and then he taxidermies them.
There's a slight brilliance to that, I had to say.
Right. It's like, Norman, you're the only one. You're the only one who can save us.
Oh man, that's good. I've never really thought of that, but that'd be pretty great.
Right, and then and then North by Northwest
Hey,
in conjunction with The Man Who Knew Too Much, and like it's Cary Grant. Was it Cary Grant in North by Northwest?
yeah.
Yeah, so it's like he's tapped by like the government to go and try and break up the espionage, like the group that was trying to commit the assassination.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Cary Grant's tasked to go in and like kind of James Bond inspector, like try to go and break up that spy network.
That could work.
Yeah, right. So yeah, the Hitchcock shared universe.
That could totally work. Damn. Oh man, that'd be great. I think that'd be actually a really good story.
I'm glad you approve. I'm glad you approve.
Yeah. So what was your rating for Psycho, Andy?
Solid 4.
Solid 4.
Solid 4.
I think this is gonna be my my first 5-star.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I mean, I only kind of ding it because of like the like at least like in like the stabbing scenes, like kind of like the kind of like sloppy editing.
Well, the all those like the quick jumps, it was meant to be kind of like you're thinking of like, oh, stab, cut, stab, film cut. It was all meant to be like, like those cuts were meant as like cuts of the knife.
Ah, okay.
So there was reasoning behind that. It wasn't just done because of they were being sloppy. There was a reasoning behind those. The way.
Well, I know, like they were doing the best they can with like the technology that they had.
I personally didn't have an issue with it. This is a 5-star film to me. Maybe it's not the super it wasn't highly critically rated because I think the critics were pissed off that they had to wait. He made them wait.
Right.
But yeah, this is to me one of the great horror films of our time. It's the tension that's created, all the like the little puzzle pieces that you're given throughout the film, the way they introduced all the characters and how it all comes together, I think is just one of the most brilliant story. It's one of the most brilliant storytelling in a film that I've seen. So for me, 5 stars.
All right. Well, you heard it. You heard it from the man himself. Robert gives it a 5. I give it a 4. Definitely a movie to watch.
Absolutely.
Definitely,
especially in this Halloween
definitely
season.
Still is. It still holds up, even today. Yeah. So do yourself a favor and go check out Psycho.
Yeah. Tomorrow night. Turn out the lights. And
make yourself a huge bowl of popcorn.
Yeah, there you go.
You remember the '90s remake of Psycho?
I do not.
Yeah, it was with like Vince Vaughn, who played Norman Bates. But I don't know why the director did a shot-for-shot remake of from Hitchcock's Psycho.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I know. It's like it's not like he was adding anything. He just did like he made a remake. It was like it was set. I think it was set in today. In that time, like the '90s.
Right.
Like the mid '90s, I believe it was when it was released. But yeah, it was just like he just did like a shot-for-shot remake of Hitchcock's Psycho. But it was just in color and new actors and things like that. But it's like it didn't add anything. It didn't like take the story and like he didn't take the story and like try to rejigger it or whatever. It was just kind of stupid. It was pointless.
I mean, there's something to be said of like, you're kind of paying tribute to the movie. But because there's a lot of remakes where they start like changing stuff around, and it's just, why did you do that? But yeah, I kind of do. But the other thing with that too, it's just, I don't know. You're putting it in color when he specifically it was a money saving cost because he wanted to do the film in under $1 million. He wanted to spend less than $1 million on the film, so black and white film was cheaper.
Right.
But
I mean, yeah, and like it was in 1960, and they had color. They did have color film and color photography. So
I don't think, to me, the movie does not work if it's in color.
Oh no, I agree. But yeah, I'm just letting people know that, like, it's not the reason why, for the reason that you mentioned. That's why it was in black and white. It wasn't because, like, this movie was made before color film or whatever like that. Color film, it existed at that time. But yeah, I think this movie 100% works better in black and white. Like this, it's more suspenseful. You got a lot. I love the contrast in it, like the really like whites and the blacks.
Yeah.
Of the film that really just make it pop.
Yeah, it's great film. I'm glad I watched it again.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're coming up on an hour and a half, and that's about all the brain power I have for tonight. So,
yep.
Yeah, I guess we'll call it. We'll call it there. Yeah. So, thank you for joining us. Thank you for always joining us on Tuesday. Don't forget, we do this every Tuesday at 8 p.m. ish. When Robert's not completely fucking up the time.
Absolutely.
Don't forget to check out the library of other videos, the regular Circular Jerks podcast, this show, Nocturnal Transmissions, and don't forget, and also if you want to check out Robert's show, Up by Up Down, we have, there's a library of videos. Don't forget to follow us on our various social media accounts, Twitter at PodcastCOJ and Instagram Circle of Jerks Podcast. And with that, for Robert and myself, we'll say good night, have a happy Halloween, watch out for razor blades, and we'll see you next week.
He did the Monster Mash. It was a graveyard smash.